Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another episode of Cyber Talks with Cyber GRC. Today, we are diving into a question everyone is confused about, that AI governance, and that is very much related to ISO and IEC 42001. And why does it really matters? So today we are going to explore it and understand the new global AI management system standard and how it help organization align with laws, reducing risk and earn digital trust. So Cyber GRC Guru, Mr. Love Johar, is going to guide us today. So, sir, I would like to ask you the very first question, that what is this ISO and IEC 42001, and why it was really created? What was the aim?
Yeah, very good question, Vidya, to begin with, basically. So, ISO for 2001 is basically the first global international standard that has been created by ISO for AI management systems governance, right? So basically, companies are deploying AI. Some companies are deploying AI. Some companies are providing AI. Some companies are using AI. But in order to establish governance around that AI to avoid any risk, that is where ISO for 2001 comes into play. Okay, for example, we have ISO 27001 for information security. Similarly, we have ISO for 2001 for AI governance, basically. Okay, so any
Okay.
organization, if you are developing an AI, if you are providing an AI, or even if you are using an AI system, so if you want to manage the risk, if you want to follow the right practices, if you want to actually have proper governance around the AI life cycle, then you need to have this particular standard. So basically, it's to establish governance towards AI, and it's to basically, because see, AI growth is enormous nowadays. AI is growing like anything, right? So in order to establish governance around AI, we need to have some sort of standard, right? So that is where ISO for
Yeah.
2001 comes into play, right? So that we can have proper governance around AI.
Okay. Can we just discuss the scenario of ISO 42001 in India and in globe? What's the
Yeah,
difference?
definitely. So as a standard, ISO for 2001, if you deploy across the globe, the deployment will be similar. There is no change in terms of the implementation of the standard. However, if you ask in India we have different compliances. For example,
Hmm.
DPDP is coming. For example, different compliances are there. So we need to take care all those compliances also in terms of implementation in India, and similarly for other countries. For example, Europe. In Europe, they
Yeah.
have EU AI Act also, which is also
Yes.
a big compliance that any AI service provider or any AI creator has to basically comply with. So these are the compliances where countries, as per their specific laws, would also have to chip in. Yeah.
Okay. My next question is that why is this matters?
So, as I said, basically AI is now growing at an enormous rate, right? Exponential rate. You see every day, chatbots coming. Be it healthcare sector, be it financial sector, everywhere you see AI is becoming, like a norm now. So, but what about a formal governance now? How will you govern this AI? How will you bring structure and accountability to this AI? These are the main questions now. So basically, it's giving accountability to the organization. It's basically how you turn your AI into a transparent, responsible, ethical AI, so that it can be used on a day-to-day basis, right? And this is basically a foundational framework that any organization will use if they want to align with EU AI Act. For example, I told you already, right? Now, if you want to,
Yeah.
let's say, do business in Europe, so you have to understand and you have to comply with ISO for 2001, so that once you implement this standard, your implementation will be in complete relation with the UAI Act. Vidya, I think I lost you.
Oh, yeah. It was just minor issue.
Okay, okay.
inconvenience.
No issues. No
I'm
issues.
sorry.
No issues. No issues. No issues. Carry on.
So moving ahead to the next question. Yeah, moving ahead to the next question, that how does ISO 42001 align with EU AI Act and other regulations? That is an interesting question.
Yeah, exactly. And for this interesting question, I have actually provided a framework reference for the EU AI Act regulation itself. So if you see on the screen, Vidya, this is basically the main features of the EU AI Act regulation, right? And it is still being developed, like we are speaking, right? It is
Yeah.
completely not there yet. It is being enforced in implementation steps right now. Okay, so if you see the EU AI regulation, scope and applicability, it defines the reach of the regulation to AI providers and deployers. For example, if you want to work in the EU region and you are a AI service provider, you have to comply with this act. Very simple. Okay. Then you have a risk-based framework. You have to classify AI system based on the potential risk. So that is where EU AI regulation actually divides the AI system into different risk level, like high risk, medium risk, low risk, and things like that. Okay. Then you have prohibited practices. Okay, UAI basically bans AI uses that violates the fundamental rights of the citizens of EU, right? So similarly, high risk AI obligations. If your system, AI management system, falls under high risk AI, then basically you have to follow certain guidelines, and it imposes strict governance and oversight for any high risk AI. And what is a high risk AI, what is a low risk AI, what is a medium risk AI,
Okay.
all that is defined in the UAI Act, right? Then you have a transparency requirement also, okay, which
Yeah.
basically mandates that any AI interaction and any AI result or output has to be met with the transparency requirements as well, right? Then you have governance and enforcement, okay, where established authorities and penalties for violations in terms of the
Hmm.
EUAI Act, okay. Then similarly you have all the other, alignments are there with other
Okay.
laws, phase implementation, innovation and harmonization, global impact basically. So all these are basically UAI regulatory framework requirements and main features actually with that. Okay, so how ISO for 2001 helps with this is that once you implement the standard, most of these compliances you're already meeting. Okay, what you saw on the screen right now.
Okay. But why do we need EU AI Act? Because we already have ISO 42001. So why do we need EU AI Act?
Very good
It's doing the
question.
same work basically, right?
Very good question, Vidya. EU AI Act is a law. You can't bypass it. Okay, it's a basically it's a regulatory
Okay.
requirement. So
Acha. Okay.
yeah, but ISO for 2001 is a standard. It's not a law, right?
Hmm. Acha. I got it.
Yeah, so you can't bypass EU AI Act. There is no provision as such. If you want to do business in EU region, you have to follow it. Simple.
Acha. Okay. But it is not necessary to follow in India, right?
If you are doing business
Or
in
is
the
it
EU
कि
region,
EU AI Act इंडिया में भी follow करना ही है?
that's what I'm saying. Yes, if you are doing
हाँ
business
हाँ
in the EU region
हाँ.
from India,
Then it is
then you have to
necessary.
follow. Uh, if your business is only restricted to US, Australia, or other regions,
Okay.
then no. Then no. Okay.
Okay.
And then in your business, if you are using AI
How
systems,
does it
the-
help organization?
yeah.
Yeah, sir. Please. I'm sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So if your business is using AI systems, okay, and you are basically somehow using EU citizen, in some context of the AI management system, if your AI being used by the EU citizens, if you are deploying on EU citizens, if you are basically, focusing on the EU market actually with your AI management system as a target audience,
Mm.
then definitely you have to follow the EU AI Act. There is no if and but. It's a law, right?
Oh, yeah. organization build trust in AI?
So trust, Vidya, is a good question actually. Basically, ISO 42001 is being followed just to make sure that you have a trustworthy AI. Okay, so how does trust comes from? Trust comes from transparency and accountability, right?
Mhm.
So if your AI decisions are transparent, if you know that you are documenting
Hmm.
each and every decision of the AI, and the AI decisions are transparent, and you are basically having proper roles and responsibilities defined at each and every life cycle stage of the AI, then definitely you see that transparency automatically comes into play, right? When you have
Yeah.
human oversight also is maintained. When you can show that your AI is explainable, transparent, fair, secure, that's when users and regulators start using it because they start having trust in that. Yes.
Okay. Next question is, what risk does ISO 42000 help in reducing?
So it reduces risk around all the life cycle phases basically. Okay, I'll show you the risk that are basically there. Okay, so these are all the risk, Vidya, which you see on the screen, basically, which are arising from the AI. So you have risk related to data, risk related to model, risk related to the ethical and human rights, related risk. You have risk related to operations. You have risk related to compliance. You have risk related to security and privacy. All these are risk, right? So this is where ISO for
Yeah.
2001 actually helps you to basically, mitigate each and every type of these risks, because as an organization you're dealing with all these risks on a day-to-day basis, right? So that is where ISO for 2001 comes into play.
Yeah. Okay. But how does it ensure that AI remains human centric and ethical?
So basically, human interruption, like I said, human intervention is basically something that you need to introduce into your AI management system. And basically you need to be sure that you're not you're basically doing proper impact assessment on the vulnerable groups, for example children, elder people, workers. So all these things you need to basically get into consideration. So if you remember in the impact assessment, we covered this part. We need to understand the impact of the AI. Yesterday when we were doing the session, in the impact assessment part we did cover this. So what are the impact on the
Yeah.
society, what
Yes.
are the impact on the environment? So it's just not about compliance, it's about AI basically enhancing the human life, and making their lives easier, and not to
Okay.
replace humans and not to harm them actually. That is the end goal.
Okay. What are some key controls or requirement in ISO 42001?
So ISO 42001 has 9 control categories and 38 controls in Annex A. Okay, and basically there are many controls. So mostly they talk about AI governance, AI policy, data management, model management, human oversight, life cycle principles, transparency and accountability. Okay, so basically it is a long list of controls. Maybe someday we'll have a session dedicated on the controls part itself. If the viewers are interested into that, we can do that with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Viewer can suggest us that what topic they want next and what they want to learn new. So yeah, do comment. Next question: what are the business benefit of adopting ISO 42001?
So from a business benefit point of view, if you see that uh, you know uh, if your business is into AI, okay, and you are also under regulatory compliance as well, and you know that trust is important. So you know that if your business is dealing with any of the AI risk and you want to have a competitive advantage, because AI gives you competitive advantage, right? So these are the main business advantages. So it gives you competitive advantage. If it gives you a global credibility, because ISO for 2001 is a global standard, right? So it gives you global credibility as well. And
Yeah.
basically, I would say it will give you a responsible, trustworthy AI, so that you can actually demonstrate to the investors, to the stakeholders, that your AI, whatever you are developing, is basically uh, it is basically not harming the society in any way. It is basically helping the society. That is the main goal.
But what if an organization doesn't apply it, or goes or follow the standards it says?
Does not apply ISO for 2001. Without that, they want to go ahead, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yes,
basically,
yes.
if you do not have any governance around AI, it will become difficult for the organization to basically establish transparency, establish fairness in the decision making. And without proper governance, AI has a lot of risk, actually, like you saw, right? So all these risks will basically come into play. You have model risk, you have data risk. All these risks will penetrate into the organization, and basically it will become a very big issue for the organization itself. So that is where an organization, if they do not have ISO for 2001, it will become a big challenge around AI governance, actually.
Okay. How can organization get started with ISO 42001?
They can call us directly. We are helping organizations already doing that. And just for an organization, if they want to
Okay.
do themselves, they can basically start doing a gap assessment. So basically, you compare your current practices with the ISO for 2001 requirement. Whatever you are doing currently, just compare it with the ISO for 2001 requirement, and you start defining where your AI systems are. Make an inventory of the AI systems, understand what is their impact, understand who is responsible, what are the roles and responsibilities. Try to build some sort of documentation around your AI system, so that you can actually manage it better. So that is where I would say gap assessment and AI inventarization. Understanding your AI system, defining your AI systems, defining their impact, creating a roles and responsibilities will be a start of AI governance for any organization. Even if you're not implementing as per 2001, these are some of the takeaways that you should definitely take from this podcast.
Okay. Anything you would like to say at the end of this podcast?
So many organizations, Vidya, are trying to deploy AI management systems nowadays in India and abroad. So only one thing I would say, that unless and until you have complete understanding around AI governance, it will become a very major issue very soon, right? So make sure that even if you don't know about ISO for 2001, you call us, you consult with us, so that we can actually help you understand what is ISO for 2001 all about,
Yes.
so that at least, even if you don't
Yeah.
implement, at least you know at what stage you might have to implement it, right? So that is one thing I would like to ask the organizations, especially the leaders, the leadership team, the senior management. If you are thinking about deploying the AI, even in 2026, 2027, 2028, at least be aware around the governance part. Because if you skip that part, it will become a issue, a very big issue very soon, actually.
Is it that ISO 42001 अप्लाई करते वक्त कोई मेंटर या कोई एक्सपर्ट जरूरी होता है, और it can or organization can apply like without mentor?
uh, Vidya, if they want, they can do without a lead implementer also. It's a very good question that you ask, but I would suggest having an expert first, because all this is new, like right? AI itself is very new. So if organizations actually volunteer to do this by
Yes.
themselves, they might take a lot of time and effort, which is more and more required First of all, they have to understand the standard, then they have to start with understanding what are the requirements and all. Rather than doing it yourself, go for a consultation. That is my suggestion.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, that was it for today's podcast. And at the end, I would like to say that ISO 42001 isn't just another compliance checkbox, it is a bridge between innovation and responsibility. And if you want to know and learn how to implement AI governance in your organization using ISO 42001 AIMS, please join our next training batch at Cyber GRC. Thank you for watching, everyone. Catch you tomorrow with another episode. Thank you for watching, everyone. Catch you tomorrow with another episode.